This evening, Linden-Mabura Hill Road project employs around 100 Guyanese. Chief Statistician, Census 2022 will have the government's development goal. Over 10,000 grade 6 pupils benefiting from breakfast program. In the region, Brazil elections, presidential candidates hold final debates, and internationally, France strike, 24 hours walkout against government policies. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Over 100 Guyanese have gained employment through the US $190 million Linden-Mabura Hill Road construction project, currently underway by a Brazilian company. Conducting his first inspection of the multi-billion-dollar project on Wednesday, Public Works Minister Bishop One Edgehill expressed satisfaction with the progress the team has made so far, noting that more employment opportunities will be created for Guyanese.
Where we are right now, we are basically the start-up phase, getting things rolled out. I'm sure we will see a scaling up, more people being employed, more sites being opened up for work.
The Linden-Mabura Road project is another avenue for economic advancements for residents and the region. Guyana signed a contract for the project in May this year, a venture which has been in the pipeline for decades. Minister Edgehill said the road will generate economic activity and is only one aspect of the larger plan to secure transformation across the country. The project is expected to last for 3 years and will boost trade and open massive avenues for business ventures between Guyana and Brazil. The first phase of the project will see a 2-lane highway being constructed from sand and dirt to an asphaltic concrete surface. It will also include a cycle and pedestrian lane measuring 2 meters wide, along with 10 bus stops equipped with ramps for persons with disabilities. The 2022 National Census, which commenced on September 15th across the country, will be used by the government to further streamline its development plans for Guyana. The national population count will also produce an analyzed and aggregated report that will be used by the government, academics, and the private sector. Chief Statistician of the Guyana Bureau of Statistics, Errol Cruz, on Thursday said the census report is a public document used as a tool to further Guyana's development agenda for the future.
The data that we capture for census covers a variety of areas. At the most basic level, it captures the number of persons in the household. So we're looking to find out how many people are normally a part of the household. And we do this for every household, and this gives us our composition.
The Cruz has urged citizens to not confuse the census with elections, since the population count is not affiliated with political parties. In addition, data being sought by the survey does not inquire about a person's political loyalty.
Take demographic information on gender, ethnicity, on language spoken, age, structure, level of education, employment level, and skills that the people, that persons have. There's some information on even crime that we collect. There's some information that we collect on, in this particular round of the census, some food security questions and information on agriculture. So there's a broad spectrum that is covered.
At the launch of the census campaign earlier this month, President Ali demonstrated how the census data would assist the government in its housing policies.
The census gives us the tool to identify some of these important gaps that exist across communities, within communities, and across regions, so that we can have targeted intervention.
All Guyanese are encouraged to ensure they are counted in this year's National Population Census. Stick around after the break. Over 10,300 grade 6 pupils benefiting from breakfast program, and a construction worker remanded for attempted murder.
Guyana goes on show from September 16th to October 2nd for the first ever Cricket Carnival with an exciting lineup of parties, concerts, pageants, CPL cricket semis and finals, and Carnival Costumes Parade. Book your tickets now. For more information, log on to cricketcarnival592.com or our social media pages. Come and experience our people, our food, and culture from September 16th to October 2nd.
The sixer! That's the first of the night.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. The National Breakfast Program was formally launched in Georgetown at a simple ceremony hosted by the Education Ministry at the West Rheinfeld Primary School on Thursday. The program currently provides nutritious meals for 10,300 grade 6 pupils in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Alfred King, said the program adds to the list of all the initiatives implemented by the ministry aimed at improving students' performance and attendance. He anticipated that by the end of October this year, 10,700 grade 6 pupils from 217 schools will benefit from the breakfast program.
In terms of providing for our national grade 6 learners right across Guyana, we thought it might be a good level if we can go right across the school to start with. And why? Because we're preparing for an assessment, a common assessment. And to make sure that they have a good chance, a fair chance, we thought that we needed all these interventions.
The government is investing $267 million in the breakfast program this year. Caterers were contracted within each region to provide the meals. The coordinator of the program, Mahendra Pagwa, said the ministry would be closely monitoring the program at each school to ensure that caterers are delivering meals that are acceptable standards at all times.
We also have officers who will be coming to the school to ask you questions, whether they come on time to serve you. Because if we tell you 8:30, we expect them to also be here for 8:30. And once we expect them to provide you quality meals.
The program was officially launched at the Mackenzie Primary School in Region 10 earlier this month as part of the activities to observe Education Month 2022. The initiative forms part of the National Feeding Program, which totals $2 billion. 53-year-old Calvin Kroll was charged with attempted murder of businessman Nigel Summersall and denied bail when he appeared at the Linden Magistrates Court via Zoom on Thursday, September 29, 2022. Kroll, a construction worker of Blueberry Hill, Wismer, Linden, appeared before Magistrate Wanda Fortune, where the indictable charge was read to him. He was not required to plead and was remanded to prison. The court heard that around 7 p.m. on Friday, September 23, 2022, at Wismer Housing Scheme in Linden, Kroll and the businessman Summersall, who are known to each other, had a misunderstanding. Kroll left after the argument ensued, and Summersall remained at his shop. Sometime around 9 p.m., Summersall heard several loud explosions suspected to be gunshots, and upon investigating, he saw Kroll on the street a short distance away, armed with a handgun, pointing in his direction. Summersall was subsequently shot once in his abdomen and 3 times to his right hand. He was escorted to the Mackenzie Hospital complex, where he underwent emergency surgery. The matter was adjourned to October 20th, 2022. Don't go away after the break. Russia says Nord Stream pipeline leaks were in U.S. zones, and France strike 24-hour walkout against government policies.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Hey yo, GT Massive, this is Double M. All hear me out. Right now it's all about the Marshall Super Concert, October 1st. Right here. It's cricket, it's carnival, it's soca in Guyana. Hey, ha!
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. The presidential hopefuls in Brazil have held their final debate ahead of Sunday's elections. Former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva leads incumbent Jair Bolsonaro in opinion polls. However, the question is whether any candidate will have enough votes to be elected in the first round of the elections. Al Jazeera's Manuel Rapallo reports.
A final debate among presidential hopefuls in Rio de Janeiro. While many expected the two leading candidates, former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and incumbent candidate President Jair Bolsonaro, to provide details of their political platforms, the conversation ended up being more about accusing each other of lies and corruption.
This is insane. The President of the Republic comes here speaking nonsense, and that's why on October the 2nd, the people will send him home.
This final presidential debate marked the last time the candidates would meet face-to-face before Brazilians head to the polls on Sunday. For President Jair Bolsonaro, this was also a last chance to close the gap between himself and his main rival, former President Lula, who has maintained a commanding lead according to polling data.
We're a government that tends to the needs of the poorest. During Lula's government, the poverty assistance was less. Today, there are 20 million families that are receiving assistance from us in Brazil.
According to the most recent polls, former President Lula counts on some 50% of the vote, which political analysts like Sergio Abranches say could be enough to win the presidency without the need for a second round of voting.
Yeah, I think that there is a likelihood that Lula wins on the first run. It will depend on abstention and how the very few undecided voters will decide their vote.
This presidential race has been one of the most polarizing in Brazil's history. One thing voters here do agree on is that this election represents a critical battle over the future of Latin America's largest democracy. With political debates now in the past, elections have entered the final stretch. Manuel Rapallo, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
Internationally, Russia's President Putin has called the leaks in the Nord Stream gas pipelines an act of international terrorism. On Thursday, Sweden confirmed a fourth rupture in the undersea pipelines which carry Russian natural gas to the EU. NATO says the incidents were an act of deliberate sabotage. The Kremlin denies responsibility. Al Jazeera's Step Weston reports.
Bornholm, a laid-back tourist island in the Baltic Sea, has suddenly found itself with a mysterious disaster on its doorstep. Just kilometers away, gas is bubbling up from the Nord Stream pipelines Denmark never wanted in the first place.
Try not to think about it, yes.
Are you worried a bit?
Yes, of course. Nobody knows what it will mean in the future, in the near future.
4 leaks have been detected since explosions in the area earlier this week. Seismologists say only explosives larger than 100 kilograms can cause these kinds of tremors. Europe blames Russia for sabotaging its own pipelines. Moscow has rejected the accusations and is blaming the Americans.
Look back at what you said and you will understand who wins from this situation. Explosions in Nord Stream 1 and 2.
The Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines connecting Russia with Germany were controversial from the start. But since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Germany in particular has been heavily criticized for making itself too dependent on Russian gas. While hundreds of millions cubic meters of gas continue to leak into the Baltic Sea, everyone is still waiting for answers. What exactly has caused the possibly irreparable damage to the pipelines and who could be behind it? People here on Bornholm Island, the island closest to the leaks, hope that these questions will be answered soon. Some say they know the answer already.
I grew up here and we are used to the Russians flying and their submarines in the Swedish area and so on. I think they are trying to tell us that they can do anything if they want.
But others aren't so sure why Moscow would damage its own $35 billion project.
The problem here is this. No matter how confidently
one can identify how this happened and possibly who caused it. In the wider world, people believe who they want to believe, and there is enough vagary here potentially for people to doubt whatever narrative that comes out.
And so the energy wars continue, with people here on Bornholm concerned that there is more to come. Step Vassen, Al Jazeera, on Bornholm Island in the Baltic Sea.
And finally, demonstrators in France are decrying high living costs, pension reforms, and President Emmanuel Macron's policies. A 24-hour strike was called by the trade union, who are demanding higher pay for its workers. Al Jazeera's Natassia Butler has more.
Thousands of public sector workers protested in Paris. They say they're overworked and underpaid, and they're angry at the French government's plans to reform the pension system and raise the retirement age, something they say would erode their rights.
I started working very young, and I'm fed up and very tired. And all around us are young people in their 20s who can't find a job. So I should be able to retire, so they can work. I can enjoy a few years of my life while still in good health.
We can barely survive. We can't pay our electricity bills. At some point, our salaries have to increase.
The French government says that it's doing all that it can to shield people from inflation, but it won't back down on its pension reform plan that it says would make the system fairer.
Nous mettrons également en œuvre.
We will also implement a pension reform. We can do it in a fair way, at a reasonable pace. We can guarantee this reform will be effective if we allow it to finance our social protection system.
There have been a number of smaller protests and strikes over the rising cost of living in France over the past few months, but this one is by far the largest, with workers from across the public sector. And what trade unions say is unless their demands are met, it will not be the last.
And that is the point of the strike of today. It's not an end in itself. I hope it is going to be the start of an upsurge in the coming winter of strikes and resistance all across the different workplaces in France.
French President Emmanuel Macron has wanted to reform the pension system since his first term, but pushing it through now is clearly a risk at a time when so many people feel that their lives are hard enough. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Paris.
And that is all for the regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. Tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other, and do have a wonderful weekend.